Namaskar, welcome to Ekaksha. I am Nipa Das and today I will start the second part of the fourth English chapter of class 9 and the name of the chapter is The Bond of Love. Mormor Satro Satri Hokol, Aji Ami Nobam Srenir Ingrazir, Totothoti Part, Arambho Korim, Aru Aji Ami Part 2 discuss Korim. So students, I hope you remember what we read in the first part. In the first part, we read about a baby sloth bear whose name was Bruno. It was rescued by the author in the sugarcane fields of Mysore. Then he presented it to his wife, and his wife was delighted when she saw the gift and she named it Bruno. So slowly he started eating and drinking everything. Initially, he used to drink milk from a bottle, and later on, he started eating everything and drinking everything that was available. And he became very attached to the two Alsatian dogs of the writer, and he also became attached to the children of the tenants who lived in the author's bungalow. And then we read about an incident, okay? What happened? The author had kept some poison, barium carbonate, in the library. And Bruno, as you know, he was very playful and he was a baby bear. So he went inside the library and he ate some of the poison. And then paralysis set in. Immediately, the author took him to the veterinary doctor. So he went there and told the doctor what had happened. So now let's read what happens after that. Out came his medical books and a feverish reference to index began. What poison did you say, sir? Barium carbonate? Ah, yes, barium salts. Ah, barium carbonate. Symptoms, paralysis, treatment, injections of. Just a minute, sir. I'll bring my syringe and the medicine. So when the author took him to the veterinary doctor, what did he do? He immediately took out his medical book. Totkhonat পশু চিকিৎসকজনে ভেটজনে কি কৰিলে তেখেতৰ যি মেডিকেল বুক আছিল কিতাপখন খুলি ক'লে যে আপুনি কওকচোন কি হৈছে পয়জন খাইছে কি পয়জন বেৰিয়াম কাৰ্বনেট তেতিয়া তেওঁ চাইছে যে বেৰিয়াম কাৰ্বনেট খালে কি সিম্পটমছ হয় বা ঔষধ মেডিচিন কি দিব লাগে হেবলি কিতাপখন চাইছে তেতিয়া তেওঁ কৈছে সিম্পটমছ পেৰালাইচিছ ৰবটে তাৰমানে এতিয়া ইনজেকশ্যন দিব লাগিব আপুনি অকল ৰৈ দিয়ক হেবলি ক'লে A dash back to the car. So the narrator or the author, he ran back to his car. Kyo dori goise gari loi Bruno loi ahibole, hoine? Bruno still floundering. Floundering means when you cannot move properly. Okay, moving with a lot of difficulty when you can hardly move. Okay, flounder asthirata thorak borok koe. Bruno still floundering about on his stumps. Stumps means ভৰিত ভালদৰে খুস্কাৰিবই একদম থৰক বৰক okay he had no strength to move but clearly weakening rapidly so he was getting weaker and weaker খুব দুৰ্বল হৈ গৈছে some vomiting heavy breathing তাৰপিছত বমি কৰিলে আৰু খুব জোৰে জোৰে উশাহ টান মানে উশাহ লৈছে with heaving of flanks and gaping mouth. Okay, gaping mouth means when the mouth is quite open. He could not breathe properly. There was some pressure on the flanks. Flanks mane ei thai dokhor. Okay, color side door. Hold him, everybody. So the doctor told everyone to hold him. So Bruno hokoluke ki kole dhorok. Kyo dhoribo koise kwasan injection dibo. Nohole sior bahor koribo pare han nohoy. In goes the hypodermic. In goes the hypodermic. Hypodermic means it's a long needle. Okay, that is injected into the skin. Salot dia eta mane dangor in the injection. Dighol beji eta. Okay. Bruno squeals. Squeals means Bruno screamed. Hor lara sadik dekhisa na hoy jeta injection die siore kante hoyne hedore Bruno ki he squealed means sior bahor korile. 10 cc of the antidote enters his system without a drop being wasted. Antidote mane hoise প্ৰতিষেধক বা প্ৰতিকাৰক. So তেওঁলোকে কি লগে লগে তাকে antidote dile কিমান dile 10 cc amount hoise 10 cc. 10 cc of the antidote was injected into Bruno's body. Okay? 10 minutes later, 10 minute pisot ki hol ahasun sa Condition unchanged. So Bruno's condition remained the same. He could not move. He could not stand up. Another 10 cc injected. 10 মিনিট পিছত যেতিয়া কোনো পৰিৱৰ্তন নহল আকৌ 10 cc এটা injection দিয়া হল 10 minutes later আৰু 10 মিনিট পিছত এটা কি হল breathing less stertorous মানে হৈছে কষ্টৰে উশাহ নিশাহ লোৱা so it became less stertorous so আগতে খুব কষ্টৰে উশাহ নিশাহ লৈ আছিল এতিয়া কষ্টটো অলপ কম হল এটা slight normally he could breathe slightly in a normal way Bruno can move his arms and legs a little so now he could move his arms and legs a little অলপ হাত ভৰি লৰচৰ কৰিব পাৰিলে হয়নে Although he cannot stand yet, kintu itiao he was not able to stand. Itiao thiyo hobo para nai. 30 minutes later, aru adha ghonta par hoi gol. Itia ki hol ahasun? Sound? Bruno gets up. Oh, now he gets up. Itia thiyo hol. And has a great feed. Aru khub bhal dore khale. He looks at us disdainfully. Aru ataike. কি হৈছিলে আৰু গমটো পোৱা নাই ন এটা বেবি ভালুক কিনো জানে তাৰপিছত যেতিয়া উঠি খাই আটাইকে চাইছে আৰু লিখকক আমাৰ নাৰেটৰক দেখিছে ডক্টৰক দেখিছে দেখি মানে he looked at them disdainfully মানে হৈছে ইটিকিং বা অবমাননা as much as to say আৰু তেওঁলোকক মানে জিদৰে চাইছে যেন তাৰ কবলৈ মন গৈছে লিখকে কৈছে যেন তেওঁলোকক কৈছে কি কৈছে What's barium carbonate to a big black bear like me? Bruno is still eating. So, তেওঁলোকৰ পিনে এনেকে ইটিকিং বা অবমাননা এই ধৰণে চাইছে চাইমনে কৈছে মোৰ নিচিনা ইমান ডাঙৰ ভালুক এটা barium carbonate নো কি কৰিব হেবলি যেন ঠাট্টা কৰিহে কৈছে Bruno is still eating আৰু খোৱা আৰম্ভ কৰিলে you know he loves to eat he eats everything isn't it so he started eating and looked at them as if to say what can barium carbonate do to a big black sloth bear like me Another time he found nearly 1 gallon of old engine oil which I had drained from the sump of the Studebaker and was keeping as a weapon against the inroads of termites. So, আমি প্ৰথম ইনসিডেন্ট টো পঢ়িলো হয়নে যত ব্ৰুনোয়ে কি barium carbonate খাই দিলে paralysis হল হয়নে then he had to be taken to the veterinary doctor and he was injected 10 cc of the antidote first again he was injected 10 cc and after 30 minutes he could stand up okay প্ৰথম ঘটনাটো আমি গম পালো হেবাৰ একো নহল next আকৌ এবাৰ কি কৰিছিল he found a gallon of engine oil এটা gallon ভৰা কি পালে 1 gallon of old engine oil পুৰণি engine oil পালে আৰু হেতু কোনে থৈছিলে লিখকে কেনেথ এণ্ডাৰসন তেখেতে এটা গ্যালনত পুৰণি গাড়ীৰ মানে engine oil এটা store gallon থৈছিলে which I had drained from the sump means it's a kind of reservoir okay sump মানে হৈছে ধাতুৰ পাত্ৰ যত ইঞ্জিনৰ তেল সংগ্ৰহ কৰি ৰখা আৰু শীতল কৰি ৰখাত ব্যৱহাৰ কৰা হয় where the engine oil is kept in a metallic reservoir okay it is stored there and kept cool in that place that is called the sump he is a reservoir tour পৰা কি কৈছিলে এখন গাড়ীৰ পৰা গাড়ীখনৰ নাম কি Studebaker হৈছে it's an old American car পুৰণি আমেৰিকাৰ গাড়ী look at the picture this is the Studebaker so তাৰে sampৰ পৰা তেওঁ অলপ engine oil উলিয়াই থৈছিলে okay And he kept it as a weapon against the inroads of termites. Inroads মানে প্ৰৱেশ পথ. Termites মানে তো পোক পতংগ আগতেই কৈছো পোক পতংগবোৰ যেন আহিব নোৱাৰে সোমাব নোৱাৰে হে কাৰণে তেওঁ হে ইঞ্জিন অইলটো উলিয়াই 1 gallon ষ্ট'ৰ কৰি থৈছিল হে গাড়ীখনৰ পৰা উলিয়াই He promptly drank the lot. So, Bruno, he found the gallon and he drank all the old engine oil. Or he puroni engine oil kinito khai dile. But it had no ill effects whatever. But this time it did not have any bad effects. Kintu ebar bhagyo bhal asil je ebar eku bea effect nohol. Joabar ami pohilu ki hol hoyne barium carbonate khai paralysis hoisile kintu ebar eku nohol. The months rolled on and Bruno had grown many times the size he was when he came. So as time passed by, Bruno got bigger and bigger. Homoy par hoi gol aru Bruno ki hol dom dangor hoi gol. After all, it was a bear. Eta bhaluk hoine. So dangor to hoboi. So look at the picture. It started growing. Dine dine khub dangor hoi gol. Many times the size he was when he came, or ahute puwali asi tatko bohu size dangor hoy gol. He had equaled the Alsatians in height. Prothome height ot kiman ukha hol? Alsatian kukur duta je asile tehator saman height hoy gol. Ar tar pisot and had even outgrown them. And even outgrown them means tehatot koyu aru ukha hoy gol. But it was just as sweet, just as mischievous, just as playful. Though he grew in size, but he was still like the old Bruno or like the old baby slot bear. Agote horote jenokwa puroni baby asile tenekwa itiao tenekwa. He was still playful, still mischievous, utpat kore, dustan kore, hoine, ar khela dhula kore, and he was still sweet. Jodio dangor hoy goise, kintu agote jenekwa asile hei dhoronore behavior asile. He was still sweet, mischievous, and playful. Khela dhula kori khub bhal paisile, utpat kore, dustami kore, and he was a very sweet bear. Swason bonuria jontutu ki dore teonuke khorat rakhisil aru hokoluke iman moram sene hi mane Bruno korisil aru teonukeo tak iman moram korisil like a member of their family. They didn't even feel he was a wild animal. It was just like a pet. Teonukor puhonia jontur nisinai hoi goisil. Such was the bond that they shared. And he was very fond of us all, and he loved all of them. The narrator, his wife, the children of the tenants, okay, he loved everyone. Above all, he loved my wife and she loved him too. Aru ataitke besi Bruno kak bhal paisile? Likhokor potnik. Aru tikheteo Bruno khub moram korisil because the writer had gifted it to her. মনত আছে সাগে ফার্স্ট পার্টত আমি পঢ়িছো কি দৰে মাইসৰৰ কুহিয়াৰ খেতি পথাৰ তাক পাই খৈনিয়াকক দিছিলে পত্নীক দিছিলে হয়নে তেতিয়াৰ পৰাই মানুহগৰাকী নিজৰ লৰাছলিক যিদৰে মৰম কৰে সেই দৰে ব্ৰুনক মৰম কৰিছিল আৰু ব্ৰুনোও তেখেতক খুব ভাল পাইছিল. She had changed his name from Bruno to Baba, a Hindustani word signifying small boy. So when the author had gifted it to her, she christened or she named it Bruno. But later on, she changed his name to Baba. Aru isolata naam to holoni kori ki naam dile? Baba, which was a Hindustani name and it meant a small boy. Horu lorabrok je Baba buli mate, teo eta Indian Hindustani name dile. Prothome Bruno thoisile pasole naam to holoni kori ki thole? Baba. At the command, Baba wrestle or Baba box, he vigorously tackled anyone who came forward for a rough and tumble. Rough and tumble mane hoise juddha. So whenever he learned a few tricks, so lahe lahe ki korile ketaman tricks u hikile tubalage sage dekhisa circus ot thoka jibo jontu pore je kisuman tricks kore. So Baba ko teonuke mane Bruno pisat naam to ki dile Baba kisuman tricks hikale jodi koy Baba wrestle mane mollo juddha kora ba Baba ki buli koy box kora mane boxing kora titia logge logge ki kore tackled anyone who came forward for a rough and tumble. So he could tackle anyone. Mane juddha koribole aha boli bhabi hiu mane ki wrestling ba boxing kora arambho kore. Ei command keta hi mane buji pale. Jeta tak ei dhonor command kisuman die order de je Baba wrestle molla juddha kora boxing kora hiu teta ebu kora arambho action to kori dekhwai zen rough and tumble mane juddha zen tar usole konuba ahile hi juddha he koriba. Give him a stick and say, Baba, hold gun. Or jodi, if somebody gave him a stick, so he had a lathi ba stick dia, or jodi call hold gun, say, bonduk to thorasun, titia Baba ki kore? And he pointed the stick at you. Pointed the stick mane, he lathi dal ba stick to eneke point kori diye jen, bonduk he eta loise hatot. A tricks put amne hi hiki loise. Ask him, Baba, where's baby? And he immediately produced and cradled affectionately a stump of wood, which he had carefully concealed in his straw bed. Cradled mane hase, komol aru snehapurna bhabe dhori rakha. A stump of wood mane hase, kathor tukura eta, concealed mane hase, lukai thoa, but or to hide. Ar jodi tak konubai koy, Baba, where's baby? The baby to coat. Titia ki kore? He immediately produced and cradled affectionately a stump of wood. Kat etukura, enekwa thora stump of wood. Eto dangor aru hi dhora koru eta loy stump of wood kathor tukura eta loy ki kore moromere cradle mane ami eneke moromot se keswabur je bachhabur lo ei dore morom koribo arambho kore cradle kore ei dhorne morom kore titia koy where is the baby যে বেবিটো কোন তেতিয়া কাঠ এটুকুৰা লৈ আনে আৰু মৰম কৰে আৰু কাঠ টুকুৰা কৰ পৰা আনে সো which he had carefully concealed আৰু সেই কাঠ টুকুৰা লুকাই থৈছিলে ক'ত থৈছিলে in his straw bed মানে তাক এখন বিছনা বনাই দিছিল আৰু বিছনাখনত কি খেৰ থৈছিল straw মানে খেৰ তাৰ তলত হি সেই কাঠ টুকুৰা লুকাই থৈছিল আৰু কোনোবাই যদি কয় where is the baby কাঠ টুকুৰা লৈ এনেকে cradle কৰে But because of the tenants' children, poor Bruno or Baba had to be kept chained most of the time. But now, as you remember, there were tenants and they had children and Baba was growing bigger and bigger with every passing day. The size to dangor hoi goisile, ukho pakha hoi goisile because after all he was a bear, eta bhaluk hoine na hoy. So tetia mane ki likhoke ola bhoy korile je iman dangor hoise. Jodio tenuke ঘৰত ৰাখে এটুটু বনৰীয়া জন্তু হে কাৰণে ইতিয়া ডাঙৰ হোৱাৰ কাৰণে চেইনেৰে হি কলি লগাই থোৱা হ'ল Then my son and I advised my wife and friends advised her too to give Baba to the Jew at Mysore. So when Baba grew in size, he became too big. The narrator and his son and their friends advised his wife that now it's time we should give it to the Jew at Mysore. Titia Baba iman dangor hoi gol, titia sizeor kotha koisu. Karon eto ta bhaluk hoine nohoy. Bonoria jontu bonothe thake. সেই কাৰণে তেখেতে আৰু তেওঁৰ লৰাই কি কলে আৰু তেওঁৰ যি সকল বন্ধু বান্ধৱী আছিল তেওঁলোকেও উপদেশ দিলে তেখেতৰ পত্নীক কলে যে এতিয়া বাবা ইমান ডাঙৰ হৈছে আমি তাক এতিয়া চিৰিয়াখানাত মাইসৰত থকা চিৰিয়াখানাত দি আহাটো ভাল হ'ব He was getting too big to keep at home আৰু সকলোৱে কৈছে যে এতিয়া ঘৰত ৰখাটো কিন্তু ভাল নহব because he is getting too big so you should not keep him at home as he is getting too big হেবলি কলে After some weeks of such advice, she at last consented. সকলোৱে যে এইদৰে যেহেতু পৰামৰ্শ দিলে তেতিয়া তেওঁ কি ভাবিলে কথাটো মানি ললে Hastily means quickly and before she could change her mind a letter was written to the curator of the Jew. Curator mane সংৰক্ষণ বা তত্ত্বাৱধায়ক. So before his wife could change his mind, আকৌ যদি তেখেতৰ পত্নীয়ে কয় নাই আমি তাক চিৰিয়াখানালৈ মানে চিৰিয়াখানাত পঠিয়াই নিদিও তাৰ আগতে তেওঁ লৰা লৰিকে কি চিৰিয়াখানাৰ কিউৰেটৰ যিজন তত্ত্বাৱধায়ক থাকে তেখেতলৈ এখন চিঠি লিখিলে যে আমাৰ এটা এনেকে ভালুক আছে আপোনালোকে ল'বনি সেই ধৰণে কি লিখিলে চোৱাচোন Did he want a tame bear for his collection? কৈছে আমাৰ এটা ঘৰতে আছে ভালুক পোহনীয়া আপোনাক লাগেনি He replied yes and what did the curator say He replied yes বুলি ক'লে আমাক লাগিব The Jew sent a cage এটা পিঞ্জৰা পঠাই দিলে কৰপৰা from Mysore কাৰণ চিৰিয়াখানাখন ক'ত আছিলে মাইছৰত আছিল তাৰ পৰা এটা পিঞ্জৰা পঠাই দিলে পিঞ্জৰাটো ক'ত পঠালে in a lorry so this is the picture of the lorry এই লৰিখনৰ ভিতৰত কি এটা পিঞ্জৰা পঠাই দিলে A distance of 87 miles and Baba was packed off. A pinjara to kyo pathai dise lorry khonot then Baba tate pothiyai dibo pare. Baba Bruno, no? And how far was the Jew? It was 87 miles, okay? So tatasot ki korile Bruno ta teonke loi gol. Kot loi gol Syriakhana loi gol. We all missed him greatly. So they all started missing him. Iman din horu prai kiman puali obosthar parai lalon palon korile hone nohoy so they all started missing Bruno but in a sense we were relieved kintu teoloke kon hokahu pale kyo hoka pale kon dine Bruno khub dangor hoy goi asile so he could be some sort of danger as there were children around ate lora soliu asile ar manu hokoleo teolok upodesh dile manhe bhoy korisil je iman dangor hoy goise bhaluktu han nohoy so my wife was inconsolable So, তেওঁ কোনেও হান্তনা দিব নোৱাৰা অৱস্থা হৈ গল কাক লিখকৰ পত্নী কাৰণ কি হান্তনা ইনকনসোলেবল মানে হান্তনা দিব নোৱাৰা because she was very fond of Bruno or Baba Bruno বা বাবাক তেখেতে খুব ভাল পাইছিল এতিয়াতো চিৰিয়াখানালৈ পঠিয়াই দিলে so she was very sad nobody could console her কোনেও তাক হান্তনা দিব নোৱাৰা হৈ গল She wept and fretted. She wept means she kept on crying all the time. She missed Bruno so much that she kept crying all the time and fretted. সদায় চিন্তাত থাকে আৰু উদ্বিগ্ন হৈ থাকে fretted মানে উদ্বেগিত বা চিন্তিত For the first few days, she would not eat a thing. For the first few days, like after Bruno was taken away to the zoo, the narrator's wife, she would not eat anything. একো নোখোৱা হ'ল প্ৰথম কেইদিন Then she wrote a number of letters to the curator. Then she wrote many letters to the curator of the zoo. Okay, বহু চিঠি লিখিলে curator জনক কি লিখিলে চিঠিত How was Baba? আৰু সদায় এটা কথাই লিখে যে বাবাৰ কি খবৰ Back came the replies. Well, but fretting, he refuses food too. Because ঠিকেই আছে কিন্তু খুব চিন্তাত থাকে দুখত থাকে আৰু খানা খাবও নিবিচাৰে See, look at the situation. Compare the situation here. Even the narrator's wife, she refused to eat. She was very sad. She was crying. Even Baba or Bruno, who was at the zoo in Mysore, he was also very sad. He was worried. And even he refused to eat food. দেখিছানে তোমালোকে The connection or the bond of love. Hey, মৰমৰ চেনেহৰ hey বান্ধোনটো দেখিছানে লিখকৰ পত্নীও একো খাব লব নোৱাৰা হ'ল এনি টাইম তেওঁ কি কান্দি থাকে চিন্তা কৰি থাকে এপিনে ব্ৰুনো চিৰিয়াখানাত কি একো নেখায় কান্দে চিন্তা কৰি আছে হয়নে After that, friends visiting Mysore were begged to make a point of going to the zoo and seeing how Baba was getting along. তাৰ পিছত তেওঁলোকৰ কেতিয়াবা বন্ধু বান্ধৱী যেতিয়া মাইসৰত যায় তেওঁলোকে সদায় মানে একদম অনুৰোধ কৰে আৰু যে প্লিজ তোমালোকে মাইসৰৰ চিৰিয়াখানাত গৈ চাবাচোন বাবাৰ অৱস্থা কেনেকুৱা They reported that he was well but looked very thin and sad. So when these people came back from Mysore, they told the narrator and his wife that Baba was well but he has become very thin and he looked very sad. তেওঁলোকে মাইসৰৰ পৰা আহি সকলোৱে সদায় এটা কথাই কয় যে he খুব ক্ষীণাইছে খুব দুখত আছে হেবলি কয় All the keepers at the zoo said he was fretting. So all the keepers at the zoo কিছুমান যে keepers থাকে স্বাস্থিতা কৰে চিৰিয়াখানাৰ তেওঁলোকে কি সকলোৱে কি কলে যে সদায় চিন্তাত থাকে আৰু দুখত থাকে কোনে ব্ৰুনো বাবা For 3 months, I managed to restrain my wife from visiting Mysore. So, the writer, Kenneth Anderson, he could stop his wife for 3 months. প্ৰথম 3 মাহ পত্নীক কিবা কৰি হলেও আৰু ৰখালে মাইসৰ যোৱাৰ পৰা তেখেতৰ মাইসৰ যোৱা খুব ইচ্ছা আছিল কিয় ব্ৰুনোক চাবলৈ সো প্ৰথম 3 মাহ কিবাকে আৰু ৰখালে Then she said one day, কিন্তু এদিন তেখেতৰ পত্নীয়ে কৈ দিলে কি ক'লে I must see Baba. Either you take me by car or I'll go myself by bus or train. কৈছে মই বাবাক চাবলৈ যামেই তুমি মোক গাড়ীৰে লৈ যোৱা আৰু যদি তুমি নিব নোৱাৰা মই ট্ৰেইন বা বাছেৰে নিজেই যাম So I took her by car. So the writer had no option but to take his wife to Mysore by car. And why were they going to Mysore? They were going to visit Bruno, who was there at the zoo in Mysore. Okay, তেওঁলোকে মাইসৰলৈ কিয় গ'ল বাবাক চাবলৈ গ'ল So students, we have come to the end of part 2 of the bond of love. So in this part, we read how in the last part we read he ate barium carbonate and paralysis set in. They took him to the veterinary doctor. And then after some time, after taking the medicines, the injections, he was all right. And in this part, we read how one day he drank a gallon of engine oil, but fortunately nothing happened to him. Then we read that slowly and gradually he grew in size. He was getting bigger and bigger. So all the people advised the narrator and his wife that they should give him to the zoo at Mysore. So at last his wife consented. She said that, okay, let them take him. So then the narrator wrote a letter, okay, to the curator of the zoo asking him if he wanted a pet sloth bear. When he said yes, they thought that they would take Bruno away. Then they sent a lorry with a cage from Mysore and Bruno was taken away. But what happened? His wife, the narrator's wife, was very sad. She refused to eat, okay? the first few days, she couldn't even eat anything and she was worried. She cried a lot and she wrote letters to the curator of the zoo asking how Baba was doing. And even Baba, who was in the zoo, he was also very sad. He refused to eat food and he was getting thinner day by day. So at last, the narrator's wife, she thought that she will go and visit Bruno. And her husband also agreed to take her to Mysore. So children, we have come to the end of part 2. So let's see if you have understood the lesson. So I'll ask you a few questions. What was Bruno's name changed to? Bruno namto kholani kori ki korile? Baba, Bruno, Truno, or Babu? It was changed to Baba. What kind of pet Bruno was? Loving and playful, scary, ferocious? He was loving and playful. So students, we have come to the end of part 2 of the 4th English chapter, The Bond of Love. So see you in the next class. Until then, take care. Thank you.